So we're going to go ahead and use some of the elements of this rectangle that we've created. So I'm going to zoom in here, get onto my screen, and zoom in, and let me just move this up a bit. And I'm going to select that object, and it's a complete rectangle right now, and I really want just the two lines. And they have an explode function, so if I just type in the command line up there, explode, and hit return, doesn't look like anything's changed, but now if I go back, I can actually select the individual lines. Now I'm not going to use these other lines here, but I'm going to leave them in place because they really just help to understand what the form is, and we're going to use them to align that pillow shape that we create. So we're going to make a curve in the center and then extrude from the straight end to the curve to the straight end, so we get that pillow shape. And I'm going to make sure that my midpoint snapping is turned on. And I'm going to grab the curve tool, and I'm going to snap to the midpoint. I'll come up a little bit, and I'm not sure that's not still in the XY plane, so it may not be rising up. I'll click to the midpoint on the other side and then hit enter. And now I'm going to look at this from the right hand view, and you'll notice it's not coming up out of the screen. So let's see if we can do some manipulation with that. I'm going to grab this curve again and grab this control point. Oops, not that one. I'm just trying to distort it enough so that when we go to this view, I was hoping it would pull up out of that plane. There's a point right there. I'd like to grab that point. There we go. Let's see if that's that line. And that happens to be the end point. Let's try this one. Yeah, there's the curve line. Sorry about that. I don't have it on the screen. And it's wildly offset. So let me just back off here and move this to the screen again. Select it. And I'll pull this curve. Let me just try to get the whole pillow on the screen here. And obviously we want to have this, I don't want to bring this geometry way up like this. I want to have it fairly shallow because the rectangles we make are of a different kind. They're much narrower. And if we have this too high, they're going to look really too accentuated, I guess, or extreme. So that looks pretty good. We'll go back to the perspective view and look at that. And we're still leaning over, it looks like. So I'm going to go to the top view. And I picked a poor place to draw this because it's kind of halfway on our thing, but I'm going to just pull this line over until it's perfectly straight. We'll look at it again. And now we're ready to make a loft of this one, just as we made a loft of those three lines or those three curves in the original surface. So we can actually use that same loft tool. So I'll do Control-C, Control-V after I've highlighted it. And I'll drag that down. And we can clear the original curves. So I'm going to right click on that and clear the values. And then I'm going to right click on it again and set multiple curves. Go over to Rhino, select the three curves and hit enter. And I don't have that fed into the curve, so we're not seeing anything yet. So I'll plug that in. And ghastly, it looks like we have a problem. Not to worry, this almost happens every time. So we have the two end lines are in different orientations, so the curve is trying to twist itself. And so if I select this end line, I can literally flip it by typing in the command flip. And now we have that shape created for us. And I can just, hold on, try to give you a little view of it. All right, so now we're ready to actually feed that right into our shape as the pattern object that we're going to use, that we're going to morph. I've gone ahead and done it, and it looks a bit odd, and that's because the pillows are going in the wrong direction. So once again, we have a flip command. We had this flip command when we were doing trusses, adaptive space frame trusses. If it doesn't know which way the outside edge of the UV space is, it doesn't know how to apply the object. So we can use the flip command. If I go roll over the flip command, it'll tell you that it's defined as false, which means it's true or false. So it needs a Boolean logic. So I'm going to double left click and type in Boolean. And I want Boolean toggle. And if I double click on false, it'll turn to true. And if I feed that into the flip, our panels will turn over to the other side. And they still look a little slightly exaggerated here, so why don't we go to the right view of this, and I'll grab this surface, and I'm hoping I could edit it, and I'm not getting any of my editing controls. Actually, I'm not sure why. It thinks I'm selecting something. It says, oh, I know, I've actually gone too far. It still thinks I'm in the flipping mode. So what I want to do is Control Y. There we go, we've got it back again. And I can go ahead then and go back to the right. And like I said, these look exaggerated for how deep they are. So I'm going to go to the right. And I'm going to pull this point back down again and really settle this down a lot lower. And then we can take a look at this from a perspective view again. And I think those look pretty darn good. And it seems like we have too many narrow pillows, so I might just adjust the slider. And maybe we want them a little squarer, so I might add a few more of these. So we have all that control with our sliders. Okay, so now that we've created this geometry, it's time to start thinking about what it's going to look like inside of Revit.